This PC is the same price as a PlayStation 5 and competes, or in some cases even wins, in just about every game we tested, including some Sony first-party titles. But how is that even possible? I mean, gaming consoles dominate computers in price to performance. Don't they? Well, sometimes. It's no secret that Sony and Microsoft are willing to sell their hardware at a loss in order to lock you into their ecosystem of accessories, subscription services, and software, all of which are sold for a profit. Over time then, this chips away at your initial savings, but even with that in mind, I totally get why people go for it. When this thing launched, $500 barely got you a decent GPU, let alone a complete gaming box. Of course, there's no denying the power of the Sony exclusive machine. No PC could ever hope to compete with that model. At least, not for the first couple of years. But technology marches ever onward, and with competition and the used market heating up again, it is finally possible to match the price and performance and budget of a PlayStation 5 with a gaming PC. And ours is going to be powered by Seasonic, who sponsored this video even though this is a second-hand power supply? That'll make sense later. First, we have to answer some big questions. If our goal is to match the PlayStation 5's spec, we need a Ryzen 7 3700X with 8 Zen 2 cores and a 6600 XT RDNA 2 GPU. But guys, we don't want to match it. Look at the title. We want to beat it. That means making smart choices in the name of real-world performance, even if they might come with some compromises. Like this one. We've gone with the AMD Ryzen 5 5600X, and it's got 2 fewer cores than the PlayStation 5. However, its Zen 3 architecture makes it the budget king when it comes to gaming right now. And it's only 65 watts, meaning that the stock heatsink that's included with it should be fine to keep it cool. That right there, that's savings. And it means we don't need an OP power supply in order to drive this thing. Boom! More savings. Now, it's worth noting that for a few bucks more, you could jump up to a 57 or 5800X, but we are on a pretty tight budget. Making our $500 target even more challenging is the fact that we wanted this to be a build that you could replicate at home. This isn't Scrapyard Wars, this is a guide. So we targeted prices that you will probably be able to find in about a week, whether it's on eBay or elsewhere. If you're patient and have a little luck on your side, there are better deals to be had out there. David found this puppy for just over $70 US. Just remember to follow our guidelines for marketplace bargain hunting if you want to avoid getting scammed. We're going to have that video linked down below. The nice thing about going for AMD's AM4 socket is that there are 3 whole generations of motherboards that you get to pick from. But we noticed a few things you're going to want to watch out for. First, older generation boards turned out to cost almost the same as the newer ones, but had a much higher risk of incompatibility with newer chips. So make sure you double check the manufacturer's website. Second, for the difference in price, A-series chipsets are a no-no. You're going to want to go B-series in order to retain important features and get what is typically higher build quality, even if it costs a few more dollars. So B550 and B450 ended up being the sweet spot where we found multiple candidates for around $40, including our ASRock B450M Pro 4. It's got 4 DDR4 DIMM slots for our 16 gigs of G.Skill Trident Z 3600 megatransfer per second RAM, and it's even got respectable I/O, including USB Type-C. Now, it's not all roses. B450 is limited to PCI Express Gen 3 rather than Gen 4. That means that our system could struggle to get maximum performance out of future GPUs, and even today, this is a compromise next to one of the PS5's most advertised features. It's rockin' fast SSD. Our 1TB Samsung 970 EVO Plus runs at only about 3/5 of the speed of the PlayStation 5's storage. But it's a reputable name brand drive, and with most PC games being optimized for SATA SSDs or even hard drives, there will be next to no impact in our gaming performance, at least for now. So Smart compromise or dumb cut? Let us know what you think in the comments below. Speaking of cuts, we ended up saving some of our money by using the kind of case that might have some ragged edges on it, but can be found for free or for just a few bucks on a local marketplace. David, this thing is huge.
Hell yeah.
Definitely advantage PS5, which, with D-brand dark plates, comfortably fits in an LTT backpack. LTTstore.com. Your mileage may vary here. We got lucky-ish, and this was a pretty sick case before the trauma. But your goal is to pretty much find someone who's dumping old office PCs or gaming skeletons like this for next to, if not zero. If you're patient, you can often find ones with some cooling fans already installed in them to save a few more bucks. The only big thing to watch out for is ATX compatibility and clearance for any longer components. A Dremel can often solve compatibility issues, but you might not have one on hand. Fortunately, we won't need any of that for our X650 Gold power supply from today's sponsor, Seasonic. This particular unit came out almost 15 years ago, but is still going strong. And what's really cool is that even if you are buying secondhand, Seasonic stands behind their products hard. They actually have a transferable warranty, meaning that all you need to do is ask the seller for the original sales invoice, and you're covered for the entire original length. Not only that, but they recently upped their warranty on newer units from 10 years to 12 years. Absolute chads. Now, let's talk GPU. This one is gonna be a little spicy. But hey, spice is the spice of life, right? We've gone with the Intel Arc A770. I know, guys. But compatibility has improved a lot, and it's got 16 gigs of GDDR6 memory all to itself, instead of having to share with the CPU. Now, people are starting to catch on to this thing, and by the time this video comes out, prices may have gone up a bit, but we had an opportunity, so we seized it. Also, we kind of wanted an excuse to see how far Intel has come for ourselves after a couple years of driver updates. It is worth acknowledging at this stage that we could have gone with a 6700 XT or a 3060 Ti at this price, but let's game. We're gonna assume you have some kind of peripherals to use, so we didn't factor those into our budget. But otherwise, what you're looking at is an apples to apples comparison between our PS5 and our PS5 killer. We hope these fans don't work. To kick things off, we're going to be playing Doom Eternal, a game that runs at 120 FPS on the PlayStation 5, albeit at a lower resolution scale. So we've set our PC to run at 4K, but 68% resolution scale, and I gotta tell you, this is not looking good.
Not right.
Dude, this is basically unplayable. What kind of frame rate are you? Oh,
I'm hitting
wow.
120, baby.
Something is wrong. Ah, there's your problem right there. On the PC side, you might have to do a little bit of configuration, with the most important one being enabling above 4G decoding and resizable bar support. Particularly Intel Arc does not perform its best without rebar enabled. Oh yeah, that is more like it.
Oh yeah.
1% lows of 110, 115 FPS? It is amazing what a difference just making sure everything is configure-related properly can make. Dude, was this really 500 bucks though?
Yeah.
Man, Intel Arc. Not so bad after all, huh? It's hard to do an apples to apples comparison here because the image quality and the settings menus are not necessarily directly comparable. But what David and I can do is we can skip this cutscene.
Yes.
And just, oh, I mean, that's interesting. My field of view is so much wider than yours.
Oh, I can change that.
Ooh, I don't have HDR on though.
Oh.
Let's turn that on.
Yeah.
Okay, my screen's not pretty, but what about my PlayStation?
Pretty freaking nice.
Do you like my PlayStation?
I'm the wrong person to ask. I like this case.
Okay, hold on, we're gonna figure this out. 1 second.
I can't think of anything more Windows than having HDR issues. So a huge advantage of playing on my PlayStation, if I plug in an HDR display, it's like, hey, let's calibrate. You're done. I once had a computer that had such a bad HDR issue that it was easier to reinstall Windows than to figure out the issue.
I'd call you a liar, but I believe you 100%.
I promise it's true.
The next thing we discovered is that HDR support on Intel Arc is a little bit spotty. It turns out AMD and NVIDIA have proprietary implementations for how the game calls for HDR to be enabled, and Intel, well, doesn't support them. It uses the standard DirectX implementation. So there's no denying that HDR is going to look better than SDR in any game that supports it. That really pops. However, now that we've got rebar enabled, performance is looking pretty darn good, and I'd say, who's got the edge when it comes to image quality?
It's pretty close.
It's really close.
Yeah, when I look at this cluster of rocks, the geometry and the detail and the textures looking, I think the textures are a little bit better on this, but the geometry detail is about the same.
Okay, how's it feel though? Here we go. The fact that I'm using an HDR display right now and not getting an HDR image is a bit of a downer, but most people do not have HDR displays. I'm getting anywhere from 115 to 120 FPS. I don't have frame view open. I should open that. I had frame view open one of the previous times before we were diagnosing the HDR thing.
Yeah.
And I'm getting 1% lows in the neighborhood of around 110, 115 FPS. It's really respectable. Here's something. You've definitely got the edge in loading times.
Yeah.
But with that said, this is a lot of PC for the money.
It's pretty impressive.
I would not be surprised if we managed to put together something like this as a one-off. You know, we negotiated everyone into the ground. But the fact that we were able to find, with pretty good consistency, parts like this available for this price, it's PC gaming back.
Oh, 100%. Is the render scale at 100%?
Yep.
So this is actually better image quality than a PS5, because the PS5 will be 1800p upscale to 4K. Mm-hmm. And we're hitting 60. This is,
I mean, pretty respectable. Once again, I couldn't help noticing this game looks a lot better in HDR though.
yeah, those colors look a lot more vibrant.
This is freaking smooth. One of the big things that Intel has struggled with Arc is while their average frame rate might be good, the 1% lows are 1% very low. Here, I'm not getting that kind of stutter. This is a very, very smooth experience. And what does that game run at in performance mode? 60?
60.
Yeah, okay.
It's not a perfect 60. It'll drop from that frame rate once in a while, but it's a little more steady than this PC one. But with VRR, I think I would choose that extra sharpness. I was kind of surprised every time I tried upscaling, it lowered the performance. So
Let's go quality.
That's 1440p, I think.
Yeah. My 1% lows are still the same. Given that, I probably wouldn't bother. But this is my first experience with Intel XeSS in quite a long time, and it looks really good.
Yeah. Does it look better than FSR?
Hard to say. I'd have to look it up side by side, but I don't see anything obvious that's jumping off the screen at me like, oh yeah, they're upscaling. It looks ugly. Even distant text, super sharp. Come on, PC, let's go.
Oh my gosh, your video did load first. Oh!
Let's see who makes it in game first. What? Oh, probably whoever developed the board.
Oh.
Wow. Okay, that's not fair. That's not fair though.
That's true.
Oh wow. What happened? Device driver hung.
Driver. Date. I literally installed it today.
All right, 20 frames per second.
That's lower than it was before.
I also set it to 4K native.
Oh yeah, don't do that.
Okay, but HDR is working in this game. Hey, there we go. I hope this is a 30 FPS game on PlayStation. Oh no. Oh. Okay.
Why is it crashing so much?
No, it's got this. It's got this, I believe. I believe it has the power of PC. The power of PC compels you.
Next game.
For God of War, it runs at 1440p on the PS5, so we're doing some upscaling here, but what we can't figure out is what the heck is going on with HDR. It's not in display, it's not in graphics. Oh wait, screen calibration, really you guys? I think this might be the first game.
That does look good.
New game?
Yeah.
I read that the HDR on the PC version of God of War is supposed to look a little better, in spite of this being a generation older TV than this one.
It does.
I think it does actually look a little better.
How's the details and everything? It's pretty similar.
I think it's a little less on PC.
Oh.
This upscaling looks a little better in the fine hairs of Kratos' beard. Yeah, it's a little softer there. I gotta be looking for it though. At TV distance, I wouldn't notice.
They look so similar, other than that this one's a little more pop.
What's your FPS?
60.
Me too. Let's go. Okay.
Go. Yeah. And go. Yeah. This is so satisfying. And go. Yeah. Get it, Kratos? And go. Crap, no, I messed up. The last most important one.
We're gonna have links, by the way, to everything that we use down below. And on that note, if you're buying on eBay, congratulations, you've got great buyer protection. So make sure that you use it by testing everything that you buy before the return window is up. Run some stress tests, mem test for RAM and CPU memory controller, Prime 95 for CPU compute, Furmark for your GPU, and for extra credit, push all the components at once, which will help stress test your power supply. On a related note, by the way, marketplaces can have better pricing because they don't charge the same seller fees, but they don't have any buyer protection, and unless the people happen to be bros, you are not getting your money back for faulty hardware. That means that you always want to test the parts before buying them, and if the seller is being weird about showing you the parts working, skip them. Just save yourself that die roll. There's plenty of fish in the sea. Also, always visually inspect the commonly damaged areas like the pins on a CPU or on a motherboard. There's no denying the results though, David. This is a little less sharp, but I also think I have a little bit more headroom.
It's hard to compare because this one's locked at 60. I'd be curious to see if we unlocked it, what kind of numbers we would hit. But that's console, baby. You get what you get.
This actually seems like a good time to bring up that we casually didn't include a controller, whereas for that $500 price point, or even lower if you don't bother with the disc version of the PlayStation 5, you get one of the best controllers on the market, arguably one of the best controllers like ever. Am I gonna get another one that has HDR working? Looks like it. You know what?
That's smoother though.
I was about to say.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you're in 30 FPS mode here because that looks a little sharper though.
Yeah.
I can really see it in the stray hairs here.
Oh yeah.
To be clear, this is very playable. This is not bad, but this is definitely a little sharper. Let me see what I can do to fix that up a bit over here. In terms of settings, I'm running pretty much at ultra, but what I haven't maxed out is my render scale. So I'm gonna try rendering at 80% rather than 70% of 4K.
The Last of Us is the kind of game that 30 FPS is pretty acceptable to me.
Are there any crucifixes nearby? Because I think we're gonna need one.
It's a cinematic game. As long as I'm over 24, I'm fine. Look, Ocarina of Time, 20 frames a second. Greatest game of all time. What can I say?
You've got the edge for image quality, I think. These fine stray hairs are not quite looking as good.
I also wonder, you're set on ultra settings, if maybe there's like some shadow things we could bring down in like some kind of optimization that would help boost you back over the edge.
After some more playing around, we ended up needing 70% render scale in order to get 30 FPS consistently in Last of Us Part 1. Should be noted, we could absolutely hit higher frame rates if we were willing to compromise on visual fidelity, but that wasn't the point of this exercise. The point of this exercise was to get an as good, or in some cases maybe even better experience with the same budget. And what did we spend overall?
We spent $475. We got $25 of wiggle room.
Right, but we also conjured peripherals. We didn't pay for a controller. And realistically, we don't have a warranty on pretty much any of our parts. We also had to put in the time to source all this stuff and put it together, including the risk of running into broken hardware, incompatibilities. We had some games that, because of our choice of an Intel Arc GPU, didn't run as well, whether that's crashing or limited support for HDR. So, full credit to Sony, and Microsoft for that matter. This generation of consoles, I would say, has retained its better value than a PC status for far longer than I anticipated, and it may be another year, even 2 years before we can beat them with a brand new machine. But I also think that, credit to David, by the way, for the adventurous, we've shown that it can be done today if you're willing to get a little creative. Just like we're creatively telling you about our sponsor. Actually, we already did, but whatever. Seasonic, they deserve even more shout outs just for being kind of awesome. This ancient power supply, guys, was a champion running this modern hardware, and the way that Seasonic stands behind their products with long, transferable warranties is admirable. Check out their new Vertex lineup featuring cybernetics performance certification, quiet, efficient operation, and a whopping 12-year warranty at the link down below. And while you're down there, if you like this video, check out the one where we showed you exactly how to score a great deal on your local marketplace, including some really good tips for how to avoid scammers.